Hi, I'm Tom Lesh, Regional Sales Manager here at Onsrud in North Carolina. Today we're going to talk about how a CNC router might be able to help you out with some of the applications you find in a job shop environment. We'll talk about some of the special features that come on CNC routers. We'll talk about some of the applications commonly found in our clients' job shop environments. And we'll talk about a few of the models and features that we offer on our CNC routers that we build here in North Carolina. First, let's clarify the type of CNC router we're going to be talking about today. Just like many machines like 3D printers, mills, lathes, plasmas, those CNC machines are offered in different grades or levels. Here at Onsrud, we really only offer one grade or one level, and that's industrial grade. The photos you see on my screen are typical examples of more of a hobby grade CNC. They're typically single phase power. You're going to find them in people's garages or workshops. They're typically able to cut aluminum and wood and plastics, but they're going to be fairly slow. They're going to be fairly inaccurate. Again, more of a hobby grade. Kind of the next grade that you can consider would be a commercial grade. So these are typically going to have three-phase power sources. You're going to find them in more of a production shop, but they are going to be a little bit on the lower cost spectrum. They're not going to have super high feed rates, not really high horsepower, and if you really push them, they might only last you a few years. Here at Onsrud, the machines we make are industrial grade, so higher end controls. We use Fanuc CNC controls. They're going to be much bigger as far as horsepower, capability, speeds, accuracies. And that's what we're really going to be talking about today. When you hear CNC router, I want you to think about a very high-end, high-capable CNC machine. To give you a better understanding, let's see some of the types of CNC routers that fit in this industrial class before we get into how they might be able to help you. And later, we'll share with you some real-world examples of how our customers used CNC routers instead of a mill or a plasma or water jet or laser, and why the router was their preferred choice. So within the industrial class, we have moving table machines, we have moving gantry machines, 3-axis, 5-axis, single table, dual table, multiple tables, multiple spindles, and we even get into very wide, up to 12 feet wide, and very long machines. We've built machines that were up to 90 feet long. We even build all the way down into the 4-foot by 8-foot range. Those typically start right around $100,000 for a complete package. And we can do very large format machines with up to 10 feet of Z with a 5-axis head on it. And in addition to our router line, we do offer a machine specifically for cutting extruded aluminum. And we even offer machines that are fully enclosed with flood and through the tool coolant capability. And I know I mentioned this before, but we do manufacture all of these machines here in North Carolina, where we start with raw materials, we do our fab, stress relieve, all the machining, the paint, final assembly, and QC all right here. And if you'd like a full factory tour, I recommend that you head over to our YouTube channel, where you'll find a video by John Saunders of NYC CNC. He came here last year and did a full factory tour, and you can see how our machines are manufactured. So now what you guys all came here for is to learn a little bit about how the CNC router might be a good fit for your job shop. We'll talk a little bit about some of the applications, such as 3-axis nesting of aluminum sheets. We'll talk about plastics, high-performance plastic machining, how our machines can help you with tight tolerance needs for large format parts. And if you cut patterns and molds, how a machine like this could help, and 3- and 5-axis machining of aerospace components. Additionally, we'll talk about some of the additional benefits that a CNC router could bring that might be unique to a CNC, such as the large format work envelope. You know, all the way down from 4-foot by 8-foot up to, we've built machines that are 20 feet wide. We've built machines that are 90 feet long. And we can even go up to 10 foot in Z and everything in between. We'll also discuss briefly about vacuum holding. That's a common topic that a lot of people don't really understand, how that can help hold your parts on a CNC router. And how a CNC router might be more versatile than a water jet or a laser because of the ability to do pocketing and other routines. So one of the examples of where our CNC routers have helped some of our clients in their job shops is with tight tolerance machining of large format parts. This particular part that you see here is on a machine at our client called Flying S. That machine, they're an aerospace job shop. That machine happens to have an 8-foot wide by 41-foot long work table. It happens to also have 41 inches of Z. It's a 5-axis machine. The part that you see here is a 1 foot thick, 3 foot tall, and 13-foot long cast aluminum part. It weighs about 5,000 pounds when it goes on the machine, and we machine a vast majority of that material away. The tool on this particular job happens to be, the tool lubrication happens to be MQL, minimum quantity lubricant, so flood coolant wasn't even really needed. The tooling used to machine this part are tools that are made to cut dry, so by putting the MQ on there, you just get a little bit longer tool life and a little bit better edge finish. Another example of a real-world situation is 3- and 5-axis machining of aerospace components. So in the picture that you see here, this happens to be on our HM series, which, while not considered necessarily to be a traditional router, it does have high-speed machining, and it does have a large work envelope. And this client is Aerospace Fabrications of Georgia, or what's called AFOG. And the reason they bought our machine over the traditional mill was the range that the 2-axis articulating head gives them, the high-speed machining capabilities, and the very large work envelope that this HM series has, which this particular model happened to be 6 foot by 12 foot and 41 inches of Z. Another big factor in their decision to go with a CNC machine from us was the overall machine cost compared to a traditional mill of the same size. Moving on, 3- and 5-axis machining of aerospace components is honeycomb core. So a very wide range of our customers produce honeycomb core for many of the big aerospace companies. For example, on the left, you'll see some Nomex core, a Nomex core part. That happens to be a door for a landing gear on a commercial aircraft. You can see a sheet of paper sitting on it for kind of scale, but that part was set up on a 5-axis E-series machine and was machined in one setup. All the features were machined on it in one setup. The other photo shown is an aluminum honeycomb core part. And again, another job shop of ours that cuts parts for military aircraft for Boeing. And this is a control surface where they manufacture the control surface in its entirety, but the aluminum core machining they were contracting out to somebody else, and it was costing them time and money. So they decided to purchase one of our S-series 5-axis machines to do all the core cutting in-house. Another example, obviously, is composites, and we all know composites is a wide range of materials such as carbon fiber, aramid, fiberglass reinforced plastics, phenolics, just to name a few. And that's a very popular market for CNC routers. You'll see one example here of our compact high rail machine. That machine has a 12-foot wide by 7-foot deep table and 53 inches of Z. It's a moving gantry style machine. Really no limit on the weight capacity of that machine. And the part that's in there happens to be a composite aerospace component for Boeing aircraft. The other photo happens to be, again, a carbon fiber part that is machined for aircraft. And one of the other things that a lot of our composite clients use the machine for is not only trimming and machining features in the composite part, but also in making the tooling or the mold where they're going to do the layup for the part. So the majority of our customers do the tooling, make the tooling on the 5-axis machine as well. Moving on to some other markets, patterns and molds. We've got several clients that use our machine for sand cast molds, whether they're going to make that out of aluminum or polyurethane tooling foam like you see in some of these photos. We also have clients that buy some of our very large machines like our high rail machine, which can have up to 10 feet of Z and can be 16, 18 feet wide and as long as you want them. They do some molds out of wood. We've got a client that is manufacturing pumps, very large pumps up to 16 feet in diameter, They're making the molds with the 5-axis CNC router. Those molds are made out of wood. Another industry that's obviously very popular is plastics. So, you know, everything today seems to be made out of plastic, whether that's for, you know, displays or aerospace parts or high performance plastics. Plastics is a really big industry for us, and that can come in sheet form, that can come in blocks of plastic, lots of different forms. We'll talk about some nesting capabilities of our machine here in a little bit. And then finally, 3-axis machining, nesting machining of sheet goods and plates of aluminum. So a very big market for us is aluminum cutting of sheets. So if those of you who don't really understand what nesting is, I'll explain that here in a little bit. But you get a lot of material yield. You lose the necessity to have pre-cut blanks to put into a smaller format machine. So you can just buy the material in its sheet form or its plate form, throw it up on the router, and the router will nest out the parts and give you much higher yield. The other great thing about a router and in some of these nesting applications, whether it's aluminum or plate steel or plastics, is you have the ability to drill, you have the ability to tap, you have the ability to pocket, which those things are not easily done or even doable with plasmas or water jets or lasers. So let's talk a little bit about nested-based machining. What is nested-based machining? So I have a good example where we have a client that cuts plastic parts for food processing equipment. And they had a part that you can see on the screen. It was a 14-inch diameter piece made out of a cast nylon block, about 1.25 inches thick. And they would buy the sheet or the plate of this nylon in a 48-inch by 120-inch plate or sheet. And then the first thing they had to do before they got the router was they had to cut that sheet up into manageable size pieces to put on their vertical machining center. And they would be able to get 21 pieces out of that sheet. And it would take about 40 to 45 minutes of machine time with 2 ops on that machine to get the finished part. What they were able to do with nesting was, after they purchased our machine, they put that entire 48-inch by 120-inch sheet up there, and they were able to actually get 25 parts out of that sheet. And not only were they able to get more parts, but they were able to do the machining in much less time. They went from 45 minutes in 2 ops to under 10 minutes in 1 op with a router, and they were able to have all the parts stay on the table while they were doing that. And they told me that just in the material savings alone on that part, getting 25 pieces instead of 21, saved their material cost per part went from $148 to $124, and for that one part alone, over 1 year, it was over $5,000 in savings just in material, not even counting machine time. So now that we've gone over a few of the applications where a CNC router might fit in your job shop environment, let's go over a few of the configurations or styles of CNC routers. Here at CR Onsrud, every machine that we ship out the door can fit in one of 2 categories. Either a moving gantry machine where the table and your material is stationary and the gantry or the bridge moves over the product. The other style is moving table machine or fixed bridge where the table or tables move and along with your part on it. And whether you have large parts or even smaller high tolerance parts, or you need high throughput, or maybe you need twin spindle or twin multiple tables, an industrial CNC router may be a good fit, and we here at CR Onsrud can help you tailor a solution. I do want to mention that we also offer several automation options available on our machines if you're looking for some sort of automated machine tending. To go over some of the gantry types, to give you an idea of the spectrum of gantry sizes available, here's a matrix of some of the more popular moving gantry machines we make. You'll see 5 foot wide, 6 foot wide, 8 foot wide, 10 and even 12 feet wide. And really any of those widths can go as long as you want. In the drawing you'll see up to 100 inches, but that's just because that's what we've had to do in the past. We can absolutely go longer. On the moving table designs, those Those machines can be a single moving table or dual moving tables. Here's an example of some of the matrix on our E-series machines, where you can have twin 4-foot wide by 5-foot deep tables, where they are almost touching each other. There's about 100 thousandths gap between the tables. And with a push of a button, the tables electronically lock together, and that can be used as a single 8-foot wide by 5-foot deep. So you'll see we have 5-foot deep tables. We can offer 6-foot deep, 8-foot deep, and 12-foot deep, and 10-foot deep and 12-foot deep. We also can offer 4-foot wide, 5-foot wide, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So really we can go all the way up to twin 12-foot by 12-foot tables. So you can see there's a very wide range of machine sizes, machine envelopes that you can choose from, and we can kind of tailor that solution to what you need and what your material is. Talking about spindles a little bit, something that differentiates a CNC router with a traditional milling machine is often the spindle. So typical horsepowers that go out of our building are 12 horsepower, 15 horsepower, 18, 24, 33, and we also do offer 50 and 75 horse on certain models. What our clients find with our spindles is that you can do high RPM, so 24,000, and they're finding that with that high RPM, they can get high material removal rates. That's coupled with the high feed rate of the machine as well. We have clients that can remove aluminum up to 150 cubic inches per minute with a CNC router spindle. Another thing that's common with these CNC spindles is, like I said, the high feed rate. So with that high RPM, the tooling, you're able to feed that tooling at a faster feed rate to get the correct chip load. And most of our machines can cut up to 2,000 inches a minute or even higher in some cases. Not that there's many tools that can hold up to that. The other thing that our clients tell us is that they see a higher cut quality or higher part finish, higher quality part finish. And a lot of that's associated with the higher RPM as well. So finishes that they're seeing on their router are better than finishes they're seeing on their traditional mills, given the same cycle times. Flood coolant. So we've mentioned in the past that there's options for flood coolant. Certain machines of ours have flood coolant capabilities. We sometimes don't characterize those necessarily as a router, but characteristics born from our history of making routers, such as high RPM spindles, coupled with the high feed rates and the large work volume, large work envelopes, allow us to make these machines, such as our hybrid mill series, which can have twin 6x6 tables with 41 inches of Z, or our compact high rail machine, which has 12-foot wide by 7-foot deep or even deeper and 53 inches of Z. Those are fully enclosed machines with chip augers, with chip conveyors, flood coolant options, and high pressure through the tool options. Additional benefits that are worth noting is vacuum holding, which I'll cover in a second, and how a CNC, in some of our shops, some of our clients, a CNC router complements other machines in their shop. So let's talk about vacuum briefly. Vacuum holding is very common in the CNC router world, and we help clients who are not used to vacuum or don't see the benefits in vacuum, and we help educate them on how vacuum really can hold certain parts. And I would say the vast majority of our machines that leave here go out with a vacuum holding system. So what vacuum allows you to do is have even pressure across the part. So let's go into like an example where you have a sheet good or a plate, and it's a fairly large plate, maybe a couple feet by a couple feet. Vacuum, when you apply vacuum to that part, you evenly hold across the entire part. So with mechanical clamping, oftentimes wherever you're machining, you can have a little vibration because maybe there's not a clamp nearby, especially if it's a thinner material. That vibration obviously can lead to tolerance issues, tooling issues, cut quality issues, feed rate issues. With vacuum, you get a very nice even holding across the entire part, and even smaller parts, such as we have clients that do honeycomb core, and you can put a removable film, a self-adhesive film on the bottom of the honeycomb that is designed for this, where when you remove it, there's no residue left. You've taken that very porous material and you've made it non-porous, and you can hold it very evenly, very accurately with vacuum. And now you don't have any clamps or mechanical fixtures that you have to worry about machining around, or oftentimes a process that takes 1 or 2 ops, you can do it in 1 op with vacuum holding. So we'll help any client that needs any assistance in vacuum holding. Our machines all come with the availability of a vacuum table with the internal plumbing in the machine, and we supply vacuum pumps with the packages where it's needed, and we'll right size that vacuum pump based on your table size, your material type, and your finished part. Another thing is how a CNC router can complement a vertical machining center. So several of our clients, they'll take a block of material, especially in aerospace where you have to machine a wing spar or something out of a billet of aluminum. You can't work with a pre-casted part and just that's near net size and whittle it down. You have to start with a solid block. And some of our clients will put that block of material on a CNC machining center, a typical or traditional VMC, and spend a ton of time removing all that material, and then come in and do the final finish, high accuracy, high finish part passes. Whereas we have clients that buy our routers to do the hogging, to do the high material removal rate that is needed for that part, so that they can bring that part near net size to their vertical machining center and do the finishing touches, do the finish machining on that machine. So routers are very complementary to VMCs in a lot of job shops for just their high material removal rate. So before we get to our Q&A session, I want to spend just a couple of more minutes to go over a couple of the other models and styles of machines that we offer here at CR Onsrud. One of the machines that we manufacture here, and I might have briefly talked about these before, is the X series or the EX series. This machine was designed from the ground up to machine and cut aluminum extrusion parts. And we can do quite large parts. And we've even done a little bit of machining on steel, and we've got clients that are doing fiberglass reinforcement linear parts on this machine as well. So this machine has the capability of having 2 zones or even more, where you can be cutting on one zone, and while you're cutting over there, the operator is removing and adding a new part to the other zone. This machine has automatic clamping position capabilities to where it can clamp the extrusion, and if a feature has to be machined where the clamp is near, that clamp can automatically open, reposition, close, and allow that tool to machine where the clamp was. And that is all done automatically through a special CAD/CAM software that we have integrated with the machine. Another machine that we produce here often is our High Rail series machine, or HR series. This machine is a moving gantry machine. We offer it in various widths, and we can evenly go up to 16 or 18 foot wide. We can go as long as you want, and 7 foot of Z is common. We can even do up to 10 foot of Z. This machine can have single spindle or dual spindle. You can see a photograph here where we have a 40-inch saw blade on a 5-axis head, as well as a 33 horsepower on a separate Z-ram with a 5-axis head. So these parts are common in the space industry. We do a lot of rocket components. Some of our job shops that do parts for aerospace. We have job shops that do molds for boats that this can work on. And we even get into some of the housing markets where they're doing prefabricated parts for the housing industry. Another machine that we build here is what's called our Cube. The Cube was designed from the ground up to be an enclosed machine with doors on it. The picture you see here has the doors open, but that is a 5-axis machine that's designed for doing trimming of composite parts or fiberglass reinforced parts or honeycomb core product where there potentially is a lot of dust. We can have a downdraft type effect on the table where we can the customer can put a dust collection system on the machine and actually pull the dust down. So when you're cutting things like polyurethane tooling foam, you don't have a billowing cloud of dust going throughout your shop. It's enclosed. Another machine model, which we talked briefly about, is our HM series or our hybrid mill. This happens to be a twin table, fully enclosed machine 24 position tool changer per spindle. You can do up to 2 spindles on this. And this machine, again, is flood coolant capable. You can get chip augers, chip conveyor. This basically is like a large format milling machine. And then a very close relative to the HM is our CH, or compact high rail machine. This happens to be a moving gantry machine and fully enclosed, and same spindle capability. We can also do coolant, high pressure coolant or flood on this, and that machine comes standard with 53 inches of Z. So I want to thank you guys for joining us in this session on how a CNC router might be a good fit in your job shop. If you have any questions, by the way, stick around for the Q&A, but if you do have any questions, please visit our website, www.cronsrud.com, and we also have some very cool videos on our YouTube channel, which is obviously youtube.com/cronsrud. Thank you.